Have you ever heard about that story about Bruce Lee shipping his luggage to Hong Kong?
No, I haven't.
Oh, well, when he was going over there to film movies, he shipped his luggage ahead of time.
Right.
And it was mostly just like weightlifting gear and martial arts training equipment.
Wow.
Yeah, no clothes, just, the training stuff.
He decided that clothes were replaceable.
Yeah, clothes he could, pick up over there or whatever.
For training was essential.
Yeah, absolutely essential. So that's kind of, the energy that we're tapping into today.
I like that.
Yeah, when we're going into this deep dive about Bruce Lee and,
His training methods.
yeah, his training methods and how he, developed this incredible strength and physique.
Yeah, it's fascinating.
Yeah, so our main source for this is going to be an e-paper co-authored by Ted Wong, his training partner.
Oh, wow. No.
Yeah, it's called Bruce Lee, The Power of the Dragon, and it's really interesting stuff.
So we're getting firsthand insights here.
Absolutely. Now, our goal isn't to, turn you into a Jeet Kune Do expert by the end of this.
Right.
But more to understand what made Bruce Lee so physically incredible.
Yeah.
And see if there are any sort of, principles we can kind of pick out from his routine and apply to our own lives.
And I think what's interesting is, even if you're not a martial artist,
Exactly.
there's still a lot we can learn.
Yeah, absolutely. Because it wasn't just about lifting weights or anything like that. It was a whole philosophy of training.
A whole approach to life, really.
Exactly, yeah. So, Ted Wong trained with Bruce Lee for over 6 years, right?
That's a significant amount of time.
Yeah, so he really had a front row seat to this, incredible dedication that Bruce Lee had.
Yeah, and he was there through Lee's evolution as a martial artist.
Exactly. And, Wong says, point blank, Bruce considered training number one.
Really?
Yeah, it wasn't like a hobby or something he fit in when he had time. It was like
Yeah.
the most important thing to him.
Yeah. Top priority.
Absolutely. And there are these anecdotes in the e-paper that just really highlight this.
Like what?
Bruce would be watching TV and he'd be conditioning his knuckles at the same time.
Wow.
Yeah, or driving, and using hand grip strengtheners.
Never wasting a moment.
Right. And even a casual walk could turn into a hill sprint for him.
That's intense.
Oh, yeah, for
Yeah.
sure. But I mean, it's that kind of, constant engagement that really sets him apart.
It's like he was always in training mode.
Exactly. Yeah. So I'm curious, what do you think about that? Always looking for an opportunity to train.
Well, it's impressive for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, it's that level of commitment that really makes a difference, I think.
Yeah.
It's not just about hitting the gym for an hour a day. It's about, integrating it into your life.
Absolutely. Yeah. And Wong talks about how this, obsession, so to speak, came from a couple of key beliefs that Bruce Lee had. So first off, Lit believed that you couldn't really achieve your full potential in martial arts or even just in life
Right.
unless you were in top physical shape.
Makes sense.
Yeah, he's quoted as saying, if you weren't in shape, you couldn't be 100% efficient.
That's a powerful statement.
It is, right? It suggests that physical limitations can actually hold you back in every way.
Yeah, kind of like a bottleneck, preventing you from, reaching your full potential.
Exactly. And so for Lee, physical conditioning was essential for removing that bottleneck.
I see.
And then the second thing that, really drove him was his ambition.
To be the best.
Yeah, he wanted to be the best martial artist, period.
And that takes incredible dedication.
It does, right?
Right.
That level of ambition demands that kind of constant, push for improvement.
Absolutely. It's not about just being good. It's about being the best.
Yeah. And his training definitely reflected that.
So it wasn't just about being in shape. It was about optimizing his physical potential.
Exactly. Yeah. So let's get into the specifics of his approach to strength training,
Let's dive in.
because he definitely recognized the importance of strength.
Right.
Wong mentions that he considered strength training very important.
But he wasn't a bodybuilder, was he?
No, exactly. And that's where it gets interesting.
Okay.
So he was always striving to, improve his strength through weight training and isometrics.
Right.
But he wasn't interested in just building, huge muscles.
What about function than form?
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Wong points out that Lee valued muscle definition,
Sure.
but, quote, he did not feel it was necessary to develop large muscles.
Interesting.
Yeah, so for him, strength and a lean physique, those were tools.
Tools for what?
For enhancing his martial arts,
I see.
allowing him to kick and punch harder and faster.
Those are about practical strength.
Exactly.
Not just aesthetics.
And it's fascinating because his training wasn't just, physical drills. He was also constantly reading, analyzing different martial arts, doing research.
So he was a student of the game.
Yeah, absolutely. Like his physical training was very much intertwined with this intellectual side.
That's interesting. What do you think the value of that was?
Well, I think it allowed him to, really understand the mechanics of movement, the biomechanics of different techniques.
So he was able to tailor his training to be more efficient.
Yeah, exactly. Like it wasn't just about doing exercises blindly.
It was about understanding why they worked.
Yeah, and how they could specifically benefit his martial arts.
That's a smart approach.
It is, right. So should we get into some of the specific exercises that he did?
Yeah, let's get into the nitty-gritty.
Okay, so one of the key exercises that Wong describes is the barbell push.
The barbell push, okay.
And he says this exercise, quote, works almost your whole body.
Wow, that's efficient.
Right. It engages your arms, forearms, shoulders, biceps, lats, triceps, chest, even your abs.
That's a lot of muscles.
It is, yeah. And Wong even mentions how, difficult he found this exercise. He couldn't even lift the same weight that Bruce Lee was using.
So what makes it so effective?
Well, it's a compound movement, right?
Meaning
It's not like an isolation exercise that just targets, one muscle group.
Right.
It engages multiple joints and muscle groups at the same time.
I see.
So you're building overall strength more efficiently.
Gotcha.
And you're also training your muscles to work together, which is, essential for movements like punching and kicking.
Makes sense.
Yeah. So form is really important here.
How do you do it?
So you start with your feet slightly wider than shoulder width.
Okay.
And you use an underhand grip, like a squat grip, to grab the barbell.
Okay.
Then you stand up, keeping your elbows by your sides, and you raise the weight straight out in front of you.
I'm picturing it.
You hold it briefly, then lower it and repeat.
How many reps?
So Lee would do 3 sets of 8 to 12 reps with that underhand grip, and then he'd switch to an overhand grip.
And do another 3 sets.
Exactly.
Why the switch and grip?
Well, it changes the emphasis on the muscles being used, right?
Ah, okay.
Like the underhand grip, it works the biceps more, while the overhand grip might focus more on the forearms and back.
So it's a way to get a more balanced workout.
Yeah, exactly.
Free.
Right. Now, another drill that Wong mentions is punching with a dumbbell.
Punching with a dumbbell sounds straightforward.
It is, yeah. The goal here is to improve shoulder endurance.
Which is obviously important for fighting.
Absolutely. Yeah, and Wong says that Lee did this drill all the time.
So how does it work?
Pretty simple, really.
Okay.
You hold a 5-pound dumbbell in each hand.
5 pounds? That's not very heavy.
No, it's not about lifting heavy here. It's about endurance.
Right.
So you hold the dumbbells, get into your fighting stance, and then you just alternate throwing punches.
Just like that.
Yeah, and Wong recommends doing this at a moderately fast pace.
Not too fast, though.
No, you don't want to risk injury.
Makes sense?
Yeah, so 2 to 3 sets of 10 to 15 reps per set is a good starting point.
Sounds doable.
Right. And it's a pretty simple exercise, but it's really effective for building that shoulder endurance that you need for sparring and fighting.
I can see that.
Okay, so moving on, we have the one-hand dumbbell drill.
Okay, what's this one for?
This one is all about strengthening the wrist.
The wrist.
Yeah, specifically for more powerful punches, especially the 1-inch punch.
Ah, the famous 1-inch punch.
Right. And Wong explains that a strong wrist is really key to generating force, particularly at close range.
Why is that?
Well, when you're in close, you can't really get a full swing with your arm.
Right.
So you need that wrist strength to snap the punch through.
I see. So it's about that quick, powerful movement.
Exactly.
Okay, so how do you train for that?
So for this drill, you stand shoulder width apart, you hold a 5-pound dumbbell in one hand, keep your arm by your side,
Yeah.
and then you just use your wrist to raise and lower the dumbbell as high and as low as you can.
Only the wrist?
Yeah, just the wrist.
Interesting.
And after 2 sets of 25 reps, you do another 2 sets of 25, but this time you move the wrist from side to side.
So you're working the full range of motion.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Now, are you ready to get into isometrics?
I think so. Remind me what those are again.
Okay, so isometrics are basically where you're contracting your muscles against an immovable resistance.
So you're not actually moving a weight.
No, you're pushing or pulling against something that won't budge.
Okay.
And this is really good for building strength at specific angles, and it can also improve your speed and power.
So how did Bruce Lee use isometrics?
Well, Wong says he used them a lot for developing punching power.
Okay.
And for this particular exercise, you can use a jump rope, a karate belt, or Any sturdy rope, really.
I've got a rope. What next?
Okay, so you get into your fighting stance, hold the rope in both hands with one hand behind your back,
Gotcha.
and then you wrap the other end around your shoulder, and you throw a short-range punch.
But you hold that contracted position for 5 seconds.
So you're tensing the muscles.
Exactly.
Got it.
And then you repeat that at a 3/4 distance and then at full range, holding each for 5 seconds.
So you're working through different ranges of motion.
Yeah, and the idea is to train your body to generate maximum force at each point in the punch.
Makes sense.
Wong suggests doing 5 sets of 5 reps for each arm.
That sounds like a good way to really work those muscles.
Yeah, it's a tough one, but it's effective.
Now, what about leg strength?
Yes. So for legs, there's an exercise called board isometrics.
Board isometrics.
Yeah, and Wong mentions that this one is pretty intense, puts a lot of pressure on the knees.
Sounds challenging.
It is, yeah. So you need a 4-foot-long board with a shoulder harness attached,
Okay.
and you stand on this board in your fighting stance with the harness around your neck.
I'm trying to picture this.
Yeah, it's a bit of a unique setup.
So what do you do?
You exert a constant upward pressure with your legs while also leaning forward and backward.
So you're engaging those leg muscles the whole time.
Yeah, and it's building strength, but also balance and stability.
Interesting.
And Wong says this drill helps develop explosive power in the legs.
Which is important for...
Well, for quick movements, for closing the distance to your opponent.
so you can get in range quickly.
Exactly.
I see.
He recommends doing 3 sets of 1 minute, but, increasing the duration as you get stronger.
Okay, and what about forearm strength?
Oh, good question, because there's another isometric exercise for that.
Using the board again.
You got it.
Okay.
So same board, but this time you wrap straps around your forearms,
Okay.
and then you just exert upward pressure like you're trying to lift the board.
Simple but effective.
Yeah, 3 sets of 1 minute with no more than a minute rest between sets.
And why is forearm strength so important?
Well, it's crucial for punching power
Okay.
and also for gripping, for trapping, for blocking.
Right, so it's kind of a foundational strength.
Yeah, exactly. It's often overlooked, but it's really important.
Okay, what else did Bruce Lee use?
So Wong also talks about how Lee used something called a bull worker.
The bull worker.
It's this spring-loaded exercise device,
Oh, okay.
and he used it for both punching and trapping drills.
Interesting.
Yeah, so for punching, you'd get into your fighting stance, hold the straps of the bull worker, and then throw as many fast punches as you could.
And you could do different types of punches.
Yes, straight punches, back fists, whatever you wanted.
And the bull worker provides resistance.
Exactly, yeah. And you can adjust the tension to make it more or less challenging.
So you can progressively overload the muscles.
Yeah, exactly.
Clever.
And then for trapping, you'd use the bull worker in a different way.
How so?
You'd place one end against your abs, hold the other end at head height, and then quickly pull the top part down towards your abs.
So you're mimicking that trapping motion.
Yeah, exactly. And this was really good for building forearm strength and grip strength.
So he really used a variety of tools and techniques.
He did, yeah. He was always exploring different ways to train and improve.
And what do you think, out of all of this, what was the most important factor in his success?
Well, Wong says it best, I think.
What does he say?
He says that Bruce Lee had this incredible drive.
Drive, okay.
Yeah, like this relentless dedication to giving 100% in everything he did.
Now you see that.
And Wong recalls Lee telling him, when you throw a punch, put everything into it. Don't just go through the motions.
Powerful words.
They are, right. And Wong says that lesson has stayed with him to this day.
So it's not just about the physical training, it's about the mindset.
Exactly. Yeah, that mental aspect is crucial.
And it makes me think about that story about him shipping only his training equipment.
It all ties together, doesn't it?
Yeah, it shows that it wasn't just about the exercises themselves, it was about that total commitment to training.
Absolutely, yeah. And I think that's something we can all learn from, whether we're into martial arts or not.
Right, that dedication can be applied to anything.
So just to kind of wrap things up, Bruce Lee's approach to physical training was multifaceted.
Many layers.
Yeah, it was about intense dedication, a focus on functional strength, and a really intelligent selection of exercises.
And a constant drive to improve.
Yeah, absolutely. He was always pushing himself to be better.
I think that's inspiring. Even if we can't all be Bruce Lee, we can all strive to be our best selves.
Exactly. Yeah, and with that in mind, here's a little something to think about, as you go about your day.
Okay, listening.
How can you apply that idea of, constant self-improvement and giving 100% effort to your own goals.
That's a good question.
Yeah, whether those goals are physical, intellectual, creative, whatever.
It's about finding those areas where we might be holding back.
Exactly, yeah. Like, what are the hills in your life that you could turn into, a full-on sprint?
I like that analogy.
Now, before we go, I just want to mention again that our source for this deep dive was Bruce Lee, The Power of the Dragon.
By Ted Wong.
Yeah, co-authored by Ted Wong and Justin Frost, and it's published by the Wrong Brothers.
Interesting name.
Yeah, they're pretty passionate about Bruce Lee, and they actually mentioned in the e-paper that they're hoping to gather even more information about him.
Really?
Yeah, they even gave out their email address for anyone who wants to contribute.
What is it?
It's wrongbrothers@yahoo.com.
Okay.
And they also said they're looking for stuff on those old peer-to-peer networks like Kazaa and Morpheus.
Ah, a blast from the past.
Yeah, right. So if you have any, old Bruce Lee files tucked away somewhere.
Now's the time to dig them out.
Exactly. Well, that's it for our deep dive today.
Thanks for the insights.
Yeah, thanks for joining me. And until next time, keep pushing yourselves and keep exploring.
Always learning.